Hey, when I was about 4 years old, my father used to take me on hikes, and we would go over this hill with our dog, and it was interesting because I got to breathe a lot of fresh air and be in touch with nature. Um, One particular day, my father he was jogging, he was or pacing, walking fast in front of me, and for some reasons he wanted to go to the very top of the hill and leave me there stranded and fucking scared on the little small road, the narrow road, and or path, I don't know what's the word. So the thing is that he told me, okay, you're gonna stay here, and I'm gonna go all the way over there, and he had to like circle at the top of the hill, and I wasn't gonna be able to see him, and he was supposedly gonna come back, but I was 4 years old and I was very scared, what was gonna happen. I was gonna be there all alone, and sometimes there were little snakes and things, and I was scared, so I started crying and said, "Come on, I mean, don't leave me here. I don't want to be here all alone. Let me go with you." And he said, "No, no, no. You stay down here. I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna come back, and it's gonna be just a few minutes, and you just have to stay there, okay?" And I started crying because a lot of anxiety built up in me because I'm a 4 year old. I mean, at that point, I don't know how to deal with situations like that. And it was very uncomfortable for me. So he got angry at me for that, and he started scolding me and basically forced me to be there, to sit there and wait for him to come back. And he was very angry. His facial expression was angry, and he started yelling at me as he walked away. And I would try to get up, and he would just scold me and tell me, "Stay there, just don't move. I'm gonna come back, and you have to stay there." And he was being very aggressive. Um, he when he as he yelled at me, and I stood there crying, watching him leave up the hill. And at one point, he got so angry that I was trying to follow him that he picked up a rock and threw it. It was like this fucking big. And he threw a rock at me to try and scare me, I suppose. He didn't hit me. So, what the fuck is up with that, man? Parents do messed up shit to their kids. And that really scarred me. And I just sat there in fear of my father and in fear of sitting alone in the middle of that road, and sitting there in the dust, all alone. And I did nothing but crying and waiting for him to come back. When he came back from the top of the hill, he was, kind of like with a look of disgust in his face. He was like, "You little woos, you couldn't sit here just for a couple minutes and wait for me." And he treated me very, very badly, man. Um, and he was being punishing about the whole situation. And well, the thing is that we went back home, and he was making me feel shame for me behaving that way. he was making me feel ashamed for me crying and not being able to sit there for a couple minutes alone. And when we got home, I told my mom, and you know, my dad did this and that, and he threw a rock at me, and he wouldn't let me follow him, and I was very scared, and I was just sitting there on my own, and I was crying as I told her the story, and he snapped. He went furious. He said, "Of course I let you there. You know, you couldn't just sit there for a few minutes and wait for me. You know what a little woos, what a weasel." And dude, that was if there is something bad for self-esteem, for building a healthy appreciation of self, that would be a pretty good example of something like that. And he just made fun of me, mocked me in front of my mother, and said that I was just a little coward who couldn't be on his own for a few minutes. And nothing did anything about it. No one defended me, no one comforted me. It was just settled. I was just weak and cowardly. And I resent him a lot for that. And that was a terrible thing he did. And I'm telling you guys this because, the influence parents have in their kids' life, it's a human being, man. You gotta be careful with the things you say, because I'm 27 years old now, and that wasn't the only thing that happened to me in my life so far. So it's challenging to deal with those things, with those voices that are become fixated in your head, reinforcing those notions. And if your whole family conspire to reinforce those perceptions, they are basically building a mental prison for you to be in. And it's very, very difficult to break out of those prisons. And it takes a lot of encouragement. And recently, the way in which I've gotten encouragement is from watching YouTube and from people on the internet. There's a lot of shit content, I know, out there, including mine sometimes, most of the time, hopefully not today. There's a lot of shitty content out there, and there's a lot of things we could be watching, but I chose to learn from examples of people who made something out of their lives in spite of their abusive caretakers, or in spite of their abusive partners, or just abusive people in their lives, whether it's an institution, a job, college, high school, whatever school. So recently realized that I thought that I had these thinking patterns within me, and I associated myself with being a coward, with not amounting to anything, with failure, with maybe silliness or stupidity. And I engaged a lot in self-deprecating humor to try to cope with it, and it wasn't working. And I just realized that I thought those things about myself. I believed the things my family reinforced. And it's time to break out of those patterns. And well, if you're going through the same thing, it's possible to break out of those thinking patterns. If someone makes you think that you're worthless, if someone makes you think that you're stupid or a coward, and you give into their lies, it's gonna be hell for you. Um, Please just look for people who encourage the best in you, the best things in you, who sees you as you are, who sees you past the lies that you were told by abusive people. Have a great day, and thanks for watching the whole thing. See you.